Hello and welcome back to another episode of CharlaFootball. I am your host, Gerardo Tavares, and as you can tell, I'm doing this alone one more time. My co-host Tomas, of course, is still on vacation right now. He should be back hopefully on Sunday. So Tomas, if you're listening and watching this, I need you, bro, because I can't be doing this by myself. It's kind of like an awkward setup. I feel like I'm just talking to myself. I know there's people listening. At least I hope so. But anyways, so in today's episode, we're going to look at the CONCACAF quarterfinals, of course, because there's a lot that went down. And we're going to look at the disparity between Liga MX clubs and MLS clubs. I really want to know, and I'm going to talk to you guys about the reason why MLS clubs just can't compete against Liga MX. I think the only club that was really able to put up a fight was Columbus Crew. But yeah, let's just dive right into it. Why aren't MLS teams able to compete against Liga MX? I think the main importance and the main topic to think about is that overall there's a higher influx of money into the league, into the Liga MX. There's more exposure to, as you guys now know, or maybe if you don't know, the Liga MX is the fourth most watched league in the world, according to Center Goal. So, I mean, they're competing with the likes of the Premier League, Serie A, La Liga. So they're up there. They're the fourth most watched league. And there's no denying that at the international level, the U.S. has developed tremendously. I mean, you saw what they did against Mexico. I think Mexico is starting to kind of stagnate and kind of head downwards. But you're not seeing that at the club level because I think there's just, like I said, there's more money in Liga MX. And while the MLS have done a lot better in putting more development into the league and put more money, I think their main focus is on developing the youth. I mean, you've seen that with a lot of players going to Europe, while Liga MX has really just maintained their focus on maintaining money there and keeping their younger players and selling them for like outrageous costs. You're really starting to see that, at least at the league level, at the club level. So like I said, MLS have focused so much on their youth development, a lot more than Mexico has. And I think most clubs in MLS just don't have like that top level experience. Their players don't have that top level experience when coming up against these historic Mexican teams who do have players that have been there and done that. So I think that's kind of like the main reason that we see such a big difference between Liga MX and MLS. But I don't know, you have to choose like the worst of two evils, I guess, because what would you rather have? Would you have a struggling league, but at the international level just doing wonders, or the other way around, where you have a struggling international team, but at the league level you're doing extremely well? I guess you just have to choose on which one to sacrifice. Obviously, there are ways to do both, as a lot of top European clubs are able to do so, but running one's different in Europe than it does over here. You know, that's what we're here for. We're trying to make soccer, football, a better and more important sport in the US market. But now let's look at the quarterfinal setups. It's only the first legs that were played. So, and what I really like about these quarterfinals is that all these teams that have played against each other, we're talking about Columbus Crew versus Tigres. Then we're looking at New England Revolution versus America, Inter Miami versus Monterrey, and Pachuca versus Herediano. They're all teams that have never faced each other in their history. So a lot of new faces, a lot of new meetings between both teams. Let's start off with Columbus Crew versus Tigre. Like I said, first meeting ever. It was a 1-1 draw in Ohio, where they're heading into the second leg that's going to be played in Nuevo León. The reigning MLS champs, Columbus Crew, who, keep in mind, made it to the CONCACAF Champions League by winning the MLS Cup. So to be the best, I mean, you have to obviously beat the best, and they did that in the MLS, but I think they're probably the only team that are able to keep up, as, like I said, they are the ones that drew 1-1 against Tigres. They have never got past the quarterfinals, having been eliminated in the knockout matches by Morelia back in 2003, to Toluca back in 2010, and most recently against Monterrey in the 2021 competition. Their only win in these instances were against Santos back in the group stage in 2010. So the last time they had beaten, think about that. The last time they had beaten a Liga MX club was more than 10, 13, 14 years ago. Wow, that's crazy. And of course, they were missing their key player in Cucho Hernandez, who missed his second straight match due to a team policy. And I don't understand this from Wilfred Nancy. I mean, you have your best player in Cucho Hernandez, who scored in the final to get them to the MLS Cup. You saw them now in the CONCACAF Champions League. I mean, and now you're not going to play him for the second straight match. And I don't know what the team policy is that he's breaking, but it's got to be something really dramatic for him to not be playing these important matches. And they were looking to defend their unbeaten home streak, and they did just that. They were able to stay undefeated in this 1-1 draw, extending their streak to 10 matches without a loss at home. But while they undoubtedly missed their star in El Cucho Hernandez, Tigres weren't. I mean, even though Andre Pierre Guignac, he's at 37, 38 years old, he's still showing up in these big matches, scoring his 19th goal in the competition all time. So in the CONCACAF Champions League, he scored 19 times. The Frenchman of 37, 38 years old. Tigres, who of course are one of the favorites to win the competition due to the hierarchy. Due to their hierarchy, they've been involved, since who knows how long, making their 11th appearance, lifting the trophy back in 2020. I think that was the first time they had won the CONCACAF Champions League. That was back in lockdown period, claiming a space in the Club World Cup, where, if you guys remember, when they played the Club World Cup, they made it all the way to the final playing against Bayern Munich, who obviously, I think it was like a 2-1 win. But Tigres, who have done exceptionally well against MLS clubs, they haven't lost now in 12 straight games against them. Their last loss against an MLS club was over 11 years ago when they played the Seattle Sounders in the quarterfinals 3-1. But a player for Columbus Crew that really did turn up for them, and after Tigres had gone up 1-0, was Diego Rossi, who turned up with the Crew for his first goal of the 2024 season. His importance did not go unnoticed, and that's ultimately how the game ended, in a 1-1 draw. There were some questionable calls from the referee. There was that red card in the second half. It was a double yellow card for Aiden Morris, and a lot of people thought it was kind of soft. The first yellow card, because he scraped the Tigres player in the face. I think it was kind of on accident, but I don't know. And then the second time for protesting, that's got him the second yellow card and ultimately the red card. So the Crew were left to 10 men with 15 minutes of the game, but it kind of seemed like they were still balanced on the field, because in the last few moments of the game, they had almost won the game, actually, if it wasn't for a miss hit from Diego Rossi. But anyways, it was a 1-1 draw, like I said, with everything to play in Nuevo León. And of course, Tigres have that slight advantage with the away goal. And then when you're playing in Nuevo León in, I think it's called El Volcán. So when you're playing in El Volcán, it's not an easy task. It's probably going to be a very heavy game for Columbus Crew. Let's see if El Cucho Hernandez will be able to show up or even play the game. I guess we'll have to wait and see. And the winner of that game would either go on to face Inter Miami or Monterrey. But moving forward to the next game between New England Revolution versus America. This wasn't even a game. Honestly, it was just like a complete domination from America from the first minute to the last minute. New England Revolution never really got going, and you see that in their league form, and they're bringing that over to the CONCACAF Champions League, at least in this instance. Prior to that, they had beaten Alajuelense by quite an important margin. I think more than 4 goals scored. But for the New England Revs, it wasn't the first time they played a Liga MX club, specifically from the Ciudad de Mexico. The last time was against Pumas, I think back in 2002, when they were humiliated as well. They were up 3-0 in the first leg. So I think this is kind of interesting to note, because 3-0 in the first leg, you're up, and then in the second leg, you end up getting eliminated because Pumas were able to come back into the game, tie the game 3-0, go into penalties, and then it was pretty much just a humiliation on that point if you're a New England Revolution fan, and you're hoping that maybe they weren't going to do that this year. And after that first leg where it's a 4-0 loss, you don't really have much hope. The Refs, who have been undefeated in the CONCACAF Champions League, they haven't lost at home in the competition since back in 2008 until they met up with America. Yeah, unfortunately, the seventh-time winner of the competition, who are now looking to get their eighth win of the competition, because a lot of them are pitting them to be favorites. To get to the instance that they're in right now, they had to eliminate Chivas in the Super Clásico, which, if you guys saw that game, was a highly entertaining game. You always have to watch those important fixtures because they are probably one of the top classic games, rivalries in the world of football. I mean, you're talking about competing with the likes of Real Madrid versus Barcelona and Boca versus River Plate. Like, it's that kind of level of hate between the two teams. And like I said, on the other hand, America had not lost in their last 4 games against MLS clubs. The last time was against LAFC back in 2020, so during that lockdown period. But I think it's interesting to note that during that lockdown period, it was only single leg, like direct elimination matches. So I mean, there wasn't much of an advantage to play like that home and away type of style, which they're doing now. They had never not advanced when it came to the quarterfinals. So America have like a 100% effectiveness in this instance. So when they play the quarterfinals, they almost always, I mean, not almost always, they always make it to the semifinals. And yeah, I mean, unfortunately for the Revs, there's just not much to say about them. It was all America from the first moment of the game to the last moment of the game. And they're most likely going to be in the semifinals, where the winner, I think, plays the winner of Pachuca, and we'll talk about that later. Pachuca versus Herediano. But before we get to that, we'll talk about Inter Miami versus Monterrey. Probably the most important fixture of these 4 games, just because obviously you have Messi, who is going to Monterrey for the first time. It's not the first time. I think he plays a Liga MX club or played in Mexico. He's played one time, like in a friendly, like charity match, but it is, I think, barely his 3rd or 4th time playing a Mexican club, but only 2nd time playing a Mexican club in a professional like tournament, because the first time was against Cruz Azul last year, where he debuted and scored that amazing free kick. But and Inter Miami, who are making their debut in the CONCACAF Champions League, and for the first time ever in the quarterfinals. I mean, it is a recent team, so. But to get to the instance that they're in, they had to get through Nashville. And like I said, this is the 2nd time in their history where they face an Liga MX rival. The first time was against Cruz Azul last year. And I thought this was kind of crazy because, I mean, there was the speculation of Messi playing or not playing. There was that doubt. And I think most people doubted that he was going to play. So you saw a stadium that wasn't at its full capacity. And I think that kind of sucks. Like, as a fan, and I mean, I'm not a supporter of Inter Miami, but like in these top matchups and knockout tournaments, you need that fan support, and I think that was kind of what was missing in this game for Inter Miami. I mean, Miami did tease his possible return. They had posted, I think, yesterday, like some clips of him training with the team, but I think it was just for ticket purposes, for people to like buy more tickets and sell out the stadium. But just, I think people are not that dumb to realize that, okay, he's with the injury, they're not going to risk him right away. Now for Monterrey, in these instances, they have always advanced from the quarterfinals into the semis. So a similar situation to America. They're professionals. They are the masters in these instances, and they have a very high effectiveness when they get to these levels. Since 2008, Monterrey had won their first leg away matches in knockout stages, and now they added Inter Miami to that list. A Monterrey that had all the possession in the game, but I mean, in that first half, they really never created any danger. Inter Miami, with the one chance they had in a corner kick, they were the ones that were able to get up on the score sheet right away. And I thought it was funny that both of the goals came from set pieces. But the goal that ultimately set them apart was that Jorge Rodriguez goal for Monterrey. He put it in the top left-hand corner. And it was funny because at the weekend when he played against Chivas, I mean, he played a horrible game. He even got himself sent off. But today, I mean, he was just all over the park. And to put it in the top right-hand corner, I thought that was pretty sick. Can't even lie. I think a player to really highlight for this Monterrey team, and I think the player that kind of changed the rhythm in which they were playing at was the substitute Jordi Cortizo, who came on and he just completely changed the game. And the way he attacks, the way he moves, he's a lefty. So, like, I mean, if you guys know how most left players play, they're somehow always a little smarter. They have like that little bit of edge to them. And you saw that in Monterrey's attack as it kind of seemed a little bit more direct. I think when they had Luis Romo on, and this is one of the things that he gets questioned about a lot, is his lateral play, like his lack of like penetrative passes. And Jordi Cortizo was trying to do something different, and I really admire that from such a young player. Prior to his entrance, I mean, like I said, the game was just extremely slow for Monterrey's part. Like, they have full possession, but just no real danger. But yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it's wraps for Inter Miami. If they can get Messi fit for the second leg, that would be definitely a plus for them. But when you're playing in Monterrey, unless you're Chivas, like, I mean, it's kind of hard. It's not impossible because with Messi, I think you have the highest possibility to at least get a goal or get a result. But to really like get through to the semifinals, I don't think it's gonna be that easy of a task because they're gonna have that home field advantage, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people are going to be expecting for a sold out stadium, especially if Messi will be healthy for that game. So, I mean, we'll see how that looks moving forward into the second leg. And then lastly, Pachuca versus Herediano, the game that just ended right now. I'm not even going to lie. I think I watched like 90 minutes. There was still like 2 minutes of extra time, but it was already wraps. I think it was like 5-0. And like all the games prior, it's just another match where they were all first facing each other for the first time. And for Herediano, it's the first time they ever play a Mexican club in this instance in the quarterfinal. Historically, Herediano standing in the competition, I think the highest they've ever gone was semis back in 2014, so about 10 years ago. And of course, they're looking to repeat that. But I mean, after the performance today, I don't think that's going to be possible. Like I said, it was 4-0, 5-0. I don't even know at this point. Pachuca, who are just incredible. Under Guillermo Almada, they've done such an incredible job. They have like, I think over 10, 11 goals in like 2 games. So obviously in attack, they're just one of the scarier teams to face up against. Now for Herediano to get to this instance, they were able to get by a Sudanese team in Robin Hood. But I mean, obviously Robin Hood team didn't have a lot. They don't have a lot to offer. Herediano, who are on top of their league in Costa Rica, above historic teams such as Alajuelense and Saprissa. But like in the last 3 matches, and now 4, make it 4, they have been really struggling, only scoring 1 goal and not getting a win whatsoever. So I think it's been like over a month since they last won a game. Now extending their streak to 4 losses in a row, with this one being the most humiliating one of all. And Pachuca, to get to this point, they had to thrash a Philadelphia Union who were just poor in every way of the word. Like, bro, I don't know. These teams from MLS, they're just not looking good. Herediano, not looking good as well. They were returning to the quarterfinals since 2016, which was the year they became champions. So, I don't know. Maybe Pachuca could be champion if they can get through America. We'll never know. We'll see. Pachuca, who are undefeated in their 8 matches in the CONCACAF Champions League, make that 9 now because, like, I mean, there's no way that in Pachuca, Herediano get a result. I don't see that being possible. And it's funny because in their league form, they're not doing that great. I think they're like in 6th place in the league. They are still in playoff spots, which is good for them, but I think they've lost like their 2 recent games against San Luis and Toluca. But I think what's most important is just the way they play and the fact that they use such young Mexican players. I think the work that Guillermo Almada does at Pachuca is obviously commendable. And one of the reasons why a lot of people want him for the Mexican national team is because he actually likes to use young players. And the fact that using young Mexican players is even better. And when he makes that quality of young players and quality of experienced players such as Moroccan international Usama Idrisi and the Venezuelan legend, the King, Solomon Rondon, who on the day scored a hat trick just like he did against Philadelphia Union. I mean, you see what you get, that you reap those benefits of mixing both and being able to do that in such a perfect manner the way that he has. I mean, you're seeing just an incredible team under Almada right now. So the semifinals, as it stands, if the CONCACAF champions were to like end right here, there was no second leg. The semis, as it stands, would be between Pachuca and America and Monterrey versus Tigres. All Liga MX teams, MLS kicked out as early as the quarterfinals, unfortunately. And like I said, if maybe there was a little bit more, I mean, honestly, I think you give it a few more years and maybe the MLS clubs will be able to match that level of play that is seen in Liga MX. And honestly, I hope the Liga MX kind of start to go down, not because I'm a hater against the Liga MX necessarily, but I mean, like you see with MLS, where in the league it's not growing at a tremendous amount. Yes, in the world they're probably growing, in marketing they're probably growing, but at least on like level on field play they're still kind of below average, I guess. You see in the US national team how much they have grown, and I mean I'd much rather take the Mexican national team growing than the league growing. But like, since most people treat it like a business, at least in the Mexican national team side, I don't think we're going to see that anytime soon. Now, there's still a lot to play in the second leg, at least for Columbus and Tigres. I think that's probably the only game where it's pretty much even. Other than that, I mean, if Inter Miami, like I said, if they're able to get Messi ready for that second leg, there's a possibility, but I don't know. It seems very unlikely at this point that MLS teams make it into the quarterfinals. I hope they prove me wrong because I want to see that US representation in this competition make it that far, but I guess we'll see how far they can go. But like I said, I had to do the solo. I thank you guys if you have made it this far into the recording. I really appreciate those people that actually take the time to listen. And if you have any feedback, please let me know, because I mean, I'm not perfect and I'm just starting this whole podcasting thing. But yeah, Tomas, if you're listening to this, I need you, bro, because I need that, like, being the ability to like go back and forth with somebody, so it doesn't feel like I'm just talking by myself to the computer pretty much. But thank you guys so much for supporting. Make sure to check out the website, CharlaFootball.com, where you'll get all our links. You'll see the links to Twitter or X, Instagram, TikTok, Spotify, YouTube, all that. CharlaFootball, that's CHARLA. If you want to follow my personal, you can find me at gerardotbtp. That's GERARDOBTP on X. Follow me there. See all my soccer stuff, likes, retweets, posts, all that shit. But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. I'm a small creator, but with the only with the fans and listeners can we really be able to grow and support a young guy's dream like me right here. But yeah, so that wraps up the CONCACAF Champions League quarterfinals, and I hope I was able to answer the reason why MLS just isn't quite at the level of Liga MX, or at least you guys were able to kind of learn a little bit of something. But peace out. Thank you for tuning in.